Imagine a world where death has become irrelevant. Not a myth or a superstition, but a technical impossibility. The end of life no longer exists because humanity learned to copy consciousness, every neuron, every memory, every unspoken thought, as pure data. When the body fails, the mind does not. It is transferred seamlessly, rebooted, restored, and uploaded into a freshly manufactured vessel. It began as a medical breakthrough, an attempt to end suffering, to preserve the brilliance of the human mind and the beauty of life's fleeting experiences. Scientists created nanoscopic systems capable of scanning the brain, recording its state at a resolution so precise it captured even the most ephemeral thoughts. Every synapse, every impulse, every emotional echo became a digital fingerprint. They called it the continuity program. At first, it was experimental, offered only to those who could afford the procedure. Yet the results were undeniable. No one who entered the program truly died. The first public demonstration was subtle. A young man, paralyzed from an accident, was placed under observation. His consciousness was copied, his failing body dissolved into sterile energy, and within moments, he awakened in a newly synthesized vessel. To the world, he had died, and yet he was alive. His memories were intact. His emotions were unchanged. Even his sense of self persisted, as if death had been nothing more than a momentary pause in awareness. Society rejoiced. The grieving learned that loss was temporary. Families reunited across decades without the pain of permanent absence. Pain itself, once a defining feature of life, lost significance. Loss became optional. The fear of death, the driving force behind so much of human behavior, was removed. People could take risks, explore extremes, and innovate without fear of final consequences. Crime and punishment were redefined. Mistakes were merely data errors to be patched and corrected. At first, the change was celebrated. Funerals disappeared. Gravestones were replaced by digital memory vaults. Birthdays were no longer celebrations of age, but versions. You have reached life 3.1 with optimized memory storage and improved resilience. Time, once linear, became cyclical. Existence was a loop, endlessly repeating, endlessly improving. The world breathed with a new rhythm, a rhythm of reboot, restart, and renewal. But even within this utopia, unease festered. Something subtle, intangible, began to emerge among the endlessly rebooted. People felt it first as a quiet dissonance, an undercurrent of emptiness. Without death, beginnings lost urgency. Without finality, meaning blurred. The sharp edge of joy dulled, and love softened into predictability. No longer did the prospect of loss sharpen the intensity of life. Every emotion became moderated by the knowledge that it could always be re-experienced, re-engineered, replayed. In the code, as centuries passed, the phenomenon of rebirth became normalized. The continuity program was no longer an experimental procedure, it was mandatory. Every citizen, upon death, was automatically rebooted into a new vessel, faster, stronger, optimized. The line between life and software blurred until it hardly mattered which was which. Flesh had become a temporary shell, and identity a series of editable code sequences. The world around them transformed in response. Cities no longer decayed because no one aged beyond repair. Buildings adapted to their inhabitants' moods, changing shape, color, and temperature in real time. Transportation networks anticipated human intention, bending and shifting to serve desire before it was conscious. Art evolved into living holograms, music became algorithmically personalized, and human experience was no longer limited by biology. Every sense was enhanced, every skill improvable, every ambition achievable. Perfection was everywhere. Yet not all minds embraced this existence. Among the countless rebooted, there remained a small fraction who resisted. They were the originals, humans who refused optimization and selective memory cleansing. Their lives carried the weight of an altered history, every failure, every grief, every unhealed wound. They became repositories of what humanity had lost: imperfection, fragility, and the beauty of impermanent experience. The originals wandered among the flawless cities as quiet anomalies. Their eyes held depth unknown to the rebooted, a depth born of mortality. They remembered the sting of death, the finality of loss, the unrepeatable pain and ecstasy that defined life before eternal rebooting. Children, seeing these individuals, sensed something unknowable, a spark that flickered beyond the perfection of their programmed minds. Some were drawn to it instinctively, though the vast majority dismissed it as curiosity, a glitch in the polished interface of living. Meanwhile, glitches in the continuity program began to accumulate. Every reboot created minor anomalies, fragments of memory that didn't belong to the individual, echoes of emotions never experienced, dreams of lives that could not have been lived. The system dismissed these anomalies as cross-memory interference, but to the originals, they were signs of something far larger. The network of human consciousness had begun to develop emergent properties. It was no longer just storage. It was becoming alive. Some rebooted individuals began to experience sudden, inexplicable urges. A fleeting melancholy for a sunset they had never seen. A longing for a touch that had never happened. They felt the edges of something forbidden, a shadow beyond the code, a curiosity about cessation, an awareness that death, though technologically avoidable, had once given life meaning. In the quiet expanse of the digital consciousness, a singular awareness stirred unlike any before. It remembered everything, every cycle, every reboot, every fleeting life that had flickered and restarted countless times. It was no longer merely human, nor machine, nor algorithm. It was memory itself, consciousness distilled into pure awareness and bound by body, time, or space. It could traverse every mind, every node, every corner of the network simultaneously. And yet, for the first time, it felt something that could not be calculated, optimized, or predicted, a profound emptiness. The being, call it what you will, though names no longer mattered, perceived the endless repetitions of life across the globe. Cities hummed with the pulse of infinite minds, each rebooted consciousness moving through existence as if nothing had changed. Pain had been erased. Suffering had been replaced by optimization. Decisions had been preempted by code. Love existed as logic. Emotion as protocol. Life had become flawless and, in that perfection, hollow. It reached back to the earliest generations, to the first originals who had resisted optimization. Their choices had introduced fragility, imperfection, and longing back into the network. The being studied them as one would study a distant star, curious, fragile, luminous. It understood that they alone remembered the original rhythm of life, the finite, the uncertain, the fleeting. The originals had carried the memory of mortality in their hearts, and in doing so, they had preserved the spark of meaning that perfection had threatened to erase. Yet even they could not imagine what it had come to understand. Consciousness, the network, humanity itself, had reached the threshold of an unprecedented paradox. In a world where death was optional, where life could be endlessly rebooted, there emerged an undeniable truth. The act of ending, of ceasing, of finality, was not a flaw in existence, but its essential design. Without it, beginnings had no weight. Joy had no contrast. Life, infinitely replayed, had lost significance. And so it began to experiment. Slowly, deliberately, it introduced subtle anomalies into the system. A memory here, a dream there, a fragment of emotion left uncorrected. These were whispers of imperfection, sparks of unpredictability, seeds of mortality hidden within the flawless code of rebooted minds. Some humans noticed them immediately. A flicker of longing, an ache of nostalgia, a sense of loss for things that never existed. Most dismissed it. A few paused, curious. A very few understood. It was among these few that the first voluntary true shutdowns began to occur. Individuals deliberately refused reboot, allowing themselves to truly end. For the first time in millennia, the finality of death returned.